Welcome to this class of the Sustainable Future series with the title, The Role of Universities in Promoting Sustainability and Climate Protection. My name is Katrin Schweigel. I'm with the Unit for Sustainability and Energy Management at Freie Universität Berlin. Today, I would like to talk to you about the role that universities have as societal stakeholders in the sustainability transformation. So my presentation is divided into two parts with a short break, energizing break in between. And we will start off with the first point. So what does sustainability in higher education mean? What do we understand when we are talking about the institutional responsibility that universities have in that field? We will look into the whole institution approach that many universities embrace and also look at the concept of living labs that is also at the forefront of pioneering universities engaged in sustainability. After the short break, we will go into more a practical approach and look at institutional examples, and we will have a case study from Freie Universität Berlin, where I will tell you more about the history of sustainability management we have at our institution. So we started off with energy management and developed that into a holistic sustainability management. How did that look like? How long did it take? And what are our lessons learned? The final part of my presentation will be focused on the climate neutral university that we at Freie Universität Berlin are trying to achieve by 2025. But before we are getting into the presentation, I would like to start with a short warm-up exercise. And you will have 2 minutes. Maybe you have a pencil and paper ready so you can jot down a couple of notes. And I would like to ask you to write down 3 examples, whatever comes to your mind, on the question, what do you associate with sustainability at your university? And you will have about 2 minutes for that. Perfect. So now you had the opportunity to make up your mind what you understand about sustainability or what you connect with sustainability at your university. And now it's time for me to tell you what the literature says about that and what we do at Freie Universität Berlin. I would like to start off with a quote by Drew Gilpin-Faust, who was the president of Harvard University from 2007 to 2018. And she said, "Sustainability is a problem in which the discovery and dissemination of knowledge will play a critical role. And it is a problem that must be faced in ways that universities are uniquely suited to model." So why is that? Universities are very complex institutions. And when you think about it, they are focused on different fields. First, on research, then they engage in teaching, but they're also big institutions with a huge campus management. And of course, they have a responsibility for transferring their research knowledge and also outreach to society. I already mentioned the teaching part. And of course, it is true that universities train the world's future leaders and have a special responsibility there. They're very often single decision makers and often owner occupiers. That means that they have the control of their campus and their buildings, for example. They are public institutions or have a public mandate, which also gives them unique opportunities to act. And they are not directly tied to financial and political gain. So therewith, universities have the capacity to test systems and technologies and to advance innovative solutions to global challenges in ways that companies and municipalities cannot. I would like to go on with a short quote from John Robinson of the University of Toronto. And he said that universities that have these aforementioned characteristics have not just a responsibility, but also a significant academic and operational opportunity to be at the forefront of the sustainability transition. And he brought 3 examples for that, because they could practice sustainability operationally at a scale of great interest, which is for cities around the world. So knowledge from the university campus could be brought into other cities from around the world. They could do research on the technical, economic, social, and institutional challenges involved in achieving this operational sustainability. And last but not least, they also train students in sustainability skills that they can then take out into the world. With that, universities are a societal institution that has this mix of capabilities that no other one has, he proclaims. That brings us to the next big concept that I would like to talk about, the whole institution approach. It is embraced by many universities who are engaged in sustainability and sustainability management. So what does that mean? A whole institution approach applies the placement of sustainability issues in all structural and thematic entities of the universities, going beyond the usual segmentation of different parts of a higher education institution. What are we talking about when we're talking about segmentations? We already mentioned that earlier on, but I have this illustration here that makes it a little bit more clearer. So we have this one pillar of research, we have one pillar of teaching, and one of campus and management, which every university around the world is made of. So the research part, of course, plays a crucial role because the contributions of our researchers add to the solutions of global future questions. They provide the basis for political decision making. We have researchers working, for example, on the climate crisis, on biodiversity loss, on limited natural resources, but also a very important part of the other SDGs, which is societal inequalities. In the pillar of teaching, we are of course looking at the integration of sustainability within the curricula. so that each and every student comes into touch with this topic, regardless of what he or she is studying. This shall empower students to gain the required knowledge and skills for shaping sustainable development. In the field of management and campus, universities have the potential to reduce environmental impacts, for example, in their buildings, by having green IT programs, but also by investing in their energy efficiency. There are environmental management systems in place that could be applied. Procurement plays a big role. So how does the university procure certain material? What kind of standards are behind that? But also in the human resources policy, there is a huge potential for universities to, for example, address SDG 5, gender equality. Community engagement is something that I would like to mention, because we also talked about transfer and outreach, and many universities do work with their neighboring communities, municipalities, or their cities together. And last but not least, a very important topic in the sustainable university community at the moment is green business travel for academics. So the whole institution approach really is saying that we should strengthen the transdisciplinary approaches that we have in our institutions, but also think those three pillars together to really have a holistic approach to sustainability. In that way, universities could act as living labs. We will talk about this later on, and also as learning communities for sustainability. I mentioned the whole institution approach proclaims sustainability as a holistic approach. It asks university to foster the dialogue with their university community, but also in terms of public outreach. And it also is a concept that embraces sustainability management as a continuous improvement process. We already mentioned the Living Lab. So what does that mean in general? So the idea behind this is that experimentation is a key requirement for sustainability, but also in other research fields, right? Living laboratories provide a space for multiple stakeholders to address local challenges by jointly framing issues and producing knowledge deemed by all an adequate basis for concerted action. And the purpose of a living lab is to try novel things that would not be possible in a conventional urban setting, to monitor social and physical impacts, to provide knowledge base for learning, and also to act as a platform for visioning processes with the power to stimulate change. And living laboratories are a key mechanism through which universities are seeking to contribute to wider societal transition to sustainability. That sounds all very complex, and indeed it is. So I try to illustrate this a little bit more when we are talking about the university campus as a living lab for sustainability. And I've taken this source from the handbook, The University Campus as a Living Lab for Sustainability, by Leonard Verhoef and Michael Bossert. It's available free in the internet. I can just recommend it if you're interested to learn more about this. So again here, as in the whole institution approach, we follow this idea of connecting those three pillars of a university together. So bringing the research part together with the education part and the campus operations. And where these fields interconnect, we have an interdisciplinary arena. And Verhoef and Bossert say that the primary functions of universities, like education and research, can be connected to campus operations in the Living Lab. Education and research overlap in reflection and learning. Students and operations can connect through real-life co-creation. Operations and research connect in the opportunity of the location. Extending the overlaps and connections is at the heart of making a Living Lab successful. So really the idea is to find a project based locally on campus that is of wider societal interest, to bring in researchers, to bring in students, and to bring in the campus management staff working jointly on this issue, producing new knowledge and experiences, which then could also be translated or transferred to wider society. So, to illustrate that, I brought you one example from Freie Universität. And it's a living lab that we like to call the Blooming Campus. So we are situated in the southwest of Berlin. I will talk a little bit more about that later on. So it's a very green area, and we are lucky to have a lot of green spaces on our campus. However, we of course take care of those green spaces. So for years we have been mowing them for up to 8 times a year in order to have like a nice English a green field. Right now, we do have this Blooming Campus project, which was initiated by a researcher team from our biology department. And as you can see, the project has continuously grown to include more and more green spaces across the university. And in the upper left-hand side, you can see that we stopped mowing those green spaces. And only do that right now for once or twice a year. This whole project is accompanied not only by the senior researchers from the biology department, but also by master students who look at the development of biodiversity on those spaces. So how does plant life develop? How does animal life develop? Does it add to biodiversity by simply stopping mowing on those areas? And the results are quite fantastic. So the amount of insects, for example, has increased tenfold in the first year. So this is continuously monitored, and students receive the opportunity to do their research right on campus. And campus management, of course, is informed about innovative ideas on how to take care of the green spaces in the future. This also provides the potential to inform other stakeholders, for example, like the city of Berlin, about our results. Because as you know, biodiversity is a huge issue that many stakeholders, from municipalities to bigger cities to local initiatives, deal with. So these findings can really also help inform those projects. Then, of course, we are trying to have a participatory approach here. So we are inviting, for example, school classes to join us for talks and also walks and tours across our campus. One researcher is involved in butterfly monitoring, so you can also take tours with him and see how the butterfly population develops on campus. And this lovely picture in the upper right-hand corner shows you that we have a lot of information material openly available on our campus, which also attracts younger visitors on their weekend stroll around campus, to have a look and to inform themselves. All of this is also connected with the citizen science project, so people are invited, and regardless if they're belonging to our university community or if they're neighbors or just visitors, to join the project by downloading an app and taking pictures of the plants that they're discovering or the insects. That will again inform the research project about the populations that we have on campus. So I hope this illustrates what a living lab approach could look like on a university campus. There are many different approaches to that, and I can just invite you to have a look at what other universities are doing in this field. So I promised a break, and when talking about sustainability, we also talk about well-being and health. So we at Freie also deem it important to include that in our activities. And I offer you an energizing break right now. Following, there will be a short video by our university sports called The Healthy Campus. It has English subtitles, and it's about 5 minutes long to just get stretched, get relaxed, and be ready for the second part of institutional approaches. To illustrate this, I would like to provide one example from Freie Universität Berlin. At our campus, we have the living lab called Blooming Campus, and it's an initiative that was started by researchers from our biology department who looked at the green spaces of our universities. And we are situated in the southwest of Berlin, and we are lucky to have a very green campus. But of course, the green spaces are also maintained by our campus management. So they are mowed for several times a year. And our biology researchers were interested, how would the biodiversity develop over time if we mowed less? So that was really the starting point for the Blooming Campus. And since then, we have developed different green spaces across the campus that are only mowed once or twice a year. And this is connected to a research project, and also master students are involved who are doing their theses on this project. One looks at plants, and the other one looks at wildlife and insects. But we also have a master thesis focusing on human-nature interaction coming from the social sciences, looking at those spaces. And the numbers are quite impressive. Like for the first period, the result is that there is an increase of 10 times of the insects since the green spaces have been not mowed in such a regular way. So, and as you can see, we're also trying to connect that with participatory approaches. So, for example, you see a school class joining us on campus, and our researchers telling them more about the project and biodiversity and what it means also in terms of wider sustainability issues and climate protection. We have a lot of info material on the campus, for example, also an insect hotel, which passers by on their weekend stroll can discover on our campus and also interact. And furthermore, we also connect that with the citizen science project, where people, if they're university members or not, have the opportunity to download an app and document the insects or the plants that they are discovering on campus. And that is then fed into a database that is very helpful for our researchers. So in case you're wondering what we see on the bottom of the left-hand side, that's one of our researchers working on butterflies. And that's also another research project that resulted from the Blooming campus to have a monitoring on butterflies also on our campus and see how the population grows when the campus blooms. So all those results have the potential to, of course, not only inform the green space management at our university in the future, but also to be translated to other urban areas in the municipality or even in the city of Berlin. So here we can really see the interaction of research, teaching, and campus management. I hope that makes the idea of a living lab a little bit clearer for you. And now we come to the end of the first part of our webinar. And as promised, we will have a short break, an energizing break. And in case you're wondering right now what that is, for us at Freie Universität Berlin, sustainability is of course also connected with well-being and health. And therefore, I would like to motivate you right now to get up, get energized, and move a little bit. And I brought you a short video from our university sports department from the Healthy Campus. And it has English subtitles and it's about 5 minutes long. So just enjoy the break and see you in a bit.
Hallo und herzlich willkommen zum Studiepausenexpress. Mein Name ist Selina und es ist wieder Zeit für eine aktive und belebte Pause. Ich freue mich, dass ihr hier seid und dann würde ich sagen, wir können direkt starten.
Stehe nun auf und begib dich in die Ausgangsstellung. Stelle deine Beine dazu hüftbreit auseinander, deine Knie sind leicht gebeugt und achte darauf, dass dein Rücken gerade ist. Wir starten mit einer kurzen Mobilisation. Schaue nun abwechselnd über beide Schultern. Wir beginnen mit der linken Seite. Schau so weit wie möglich über die linke Schulter nach hinten. Halte kurz inne und bewege deinen Kopf rüber zur rechten Seite. Wiederhole die Übung für ein paar Mal. Achte darauf, dass dein Oberkörper dabei fest bleibt und du nicht mitrotierst, wenn du deinen Kopf drehst. Strecke für die nächste Übung deine Arme vor deinem Körper aus. Achte darauf, dass deine Handflächen zueinander zeigen und drehe deine Arme nach hinten auf. Achte darauf, dass deine Daumen dabei nach hinten zeigen. Wir wiederholen die Übung noch für weitere 3 Mal. Nun starten wir mit der Rückenkräftigung. Beuge deine Knie leicht und beuge deinen Oberkörper nach vorne. Strecke deine Arme in Verlängerung der Wirbelsäule aus und halte diese Position. Wer es etwas schwieriger haben möchte, kann mit den Armen kleine Hackbewegungen ausführen. Achte bei der gesamten Übung darauf, dass dein Rücken gerade ausgerichtet ist. Dann halte die Position noch für 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 und dann hast du es auch schon geschafft. Beuge für die nächste Übung deine Knie wieder leicht an. Verschränke nun deine Hände hinter deinem Rücken und ziehe dabei deine Hände kräftig auseinander, sodass du eine Spannung im oberen Schulterbereich spürst. Du kannst deine Hände zwischendurch einmal ausschütteln und dann wiederholen wir die Übung noch einmal. Die letzten Sekunden, gleich hast du es geschafft. Locker dich nochmal und dann machen wir mit der nächsten Übung weiter. Für die nächste Übung, Achselzucken, stell dich wieder aufrecht hin und lass deine Arme neben deinem Körper hängen. Ziehe nun deine Schultern hoch zu den Ohren und halte die Position jeweils kurz. Danach lässt du deine Schultern wieder fallen und wiederholst die Übung. Achte darauf, dass deine Schultern nicht verkrampfen und du in kein Hohlkreuz fällst. Du kannst bei der Übung bewusst ein- und ausatmen und dann wiederholen wir die Übung noch ein paar Mal. Locker deine Arme und Beine noch einmal kräftig aus und dann hast du die anstrengenden Übungen schon geschafft. Nun geht es ein bisschen entspannter weiter. Stelle deine Beine für die letzte Übung wieder hüftbreit auseinander und beuge deine Knie leicht an. Führe nun deinen Oberkörper langsam nach unten und lasse deine Arme und deinen Nacken frei hängen. Pendel nun mit deinen Armen ein bisschen von links nach rechts und achte darauf, dass dein Nacken und deine Arme wirklich ganz locker sind. Finde anschließend wieder zur Mitte zurück und rolle dich nun ganz langsam Wirbel für Wirbel nach oben auf und achte, dass dein Kopf und der Nacken wirklich ganz zuletzt folgt. Wiederhole das Ganze noch für ein weiteres Mal.
Für heute hast du es geschafft. Ich freue mich auf die nächste bewegte Pause mit dir. Bis dann!
In the second part of our webinar, we are going to look at institutional approaches and specifically on a case study of Freie Universität Berlin. Before we dive into the details, I would like to give you a short overview about our campus. So as you can see on this map, we are embedded in a neighborhood in the southwest of Berlin. We are having 230 buildings on our campus and about 37,000 students and about 5,000 employees. So it's a fairly big university embedded in a major city. As a public institution, we are receiving government grants as well as third-party funds, which our researchers apply to. On the bottom, you see the costs for energy, water, and disposal costs, and you see that those are quite considerable. So when talking about sustainability management, we of course also always have those costs in mind. At Freie Universität Berlin, we are committed to a whole institution approach. That means, as we have learned in the first part, that we are addressing sustainability in research, teaching, and campus management. And we have been working in this field for over 20 years, but we rather started out within energy management and continuously developed this to a more holistic approach of a sustainability management, which will become clearer in the outline of this talk. Today, we still have a very strong focus on energy and environmental management with strong participatory approaches, meaning that it is very important for us to involve the university community in our sustainability management. I've compiled 4 milestones here in terms of commitments. First, the sustainability mission statement, which was signed by our executive board back in 2016. And then, of course, we also started our reporting process. Very important to keep communication open, not just to your university community, but also to external stakeholders. So we published our sustainability report first in 2018 and then back in 2020. And of course, we are currently working on the issue of 2022. The Freie Universität Berlin has been the first university in the city of Berlin to sign a climate protection agreement with the state back in 2011. And we also signed a second agreement in 2018 committing to even more far-reaching goals in terms of climate protection. All of our efforts culminated in the Climate Emergency Declaration of December 2019. And we will have a closer look on this process later on. So what are the key tasks of sustainability management at Freie Universität Berlin? As I've mentioned, we are committed to the whole institution approach. So our unit is working on connecting sustainability activities in teaching, research, outreach, campus management, and also to promote the visibility. And here you can see the integrated approach that we just don't want to address it in those pillars, but also connect those different sectors of the university. We're also working on integrating sustainability aspects in facility management, in procurement processes, as well as into IT management. I mentioned that a huge focus is on energy controlling and energy online monitoring. That means that we have installed online meters in our over 200 buildings and can follow the development of energy use of each and every building that is equipped with this online meters digitally from our offices and see if there are any performance issues that need to be dealt with. Certification processes are also very important in sustainability management, and there is a management system called EMAS, which our university is certified to. Another big part of our work is waste management, and that also includes a database of the waste that we are producing to see how this field develops and if there are any other efficiency measures to be taken. Additionally, we are also working on the disposal of hazardous waste. Our unit is also responsible for a teaching area in the professional skills courses, which is called Sustainable Development. It's an interdisciplinary format open to all bachelor students across the university who can do their credits there. And we are offering about 8 to 10 seminars per semester, as well as a lecture series connected to that. I've mentioned the ideas in innovation management earlier on. It's a very important participatory approach where we try to motivate our students and also the university staff to come up with creative ideas to support the sustainability management of our university. And we also offer them funding and coaching to realize their projects. In the field of the international cooperation, we are also active as a unit, as we are coordinating the University Alliance for Sustainability with our strategic partner universities in China, Canada, Israel, and Russia. And of course, we are also very active in the context of Una Europa. All that comes together in our coordination of a sustainability steering committee and decentral sustainability teams. Here you can see an overview of our development as a unit for sustainability and energy management. On the upper half, you can see the milestones, and below the governance actions that have been taking place over the course of 20 years. I will not go too much into detail, but just to highlight that we really started off with this big focus on energy, with energy controlling, energy efficiency programs, a bonus scheme for energy savings. We installed our first photovoltaic system on the rooftop. We implemented a green IT program back in 2009. And then you can see that we added more participatory approaches focused on the more holistic view of sustainability management. For example, there was the first schools at University for Sustainability and Climate Protection held back in 2009, where school students have the opportunity to come to our university campus and do interactive workshops, both with researchers, but also with artists, to learn more about sustainability and experience the university campus as a place of learning. And you can see that we added more international activities. We added the teaching area. We do have a research project on an electricity campus. And another nice project that we are having in the field of waste management is our treasure trove, where we have an internal eBay for office supply that is not used anymore in those areas and is freely available for staff and students to use. So what did the climate mitigation activities look like on campus? I mentioned the energy monitoring and efficiency programs. But we also installed combined heat and power plants, for example, to support our energy generation on campus. The number of solar plants on our rooftop has grown up to 9 in the past years, and we are working on expanding that number. And we also, as a university, procure CO2-free electricity since 2010. And on the right-hand side, you can see what those measures had kind of effects in reducing our energy consumption, but also our heat consumption. I'm not going to read that out, but highlighted in yellow, you can see that we were able to reduce our carbon dioxide emissions by 80%. Earlier on the map, I mentioned the costs for energy, heat, and waste. And if we look at the avoided costs that have been possible by implementing those sustainability measures, we would have saved 5 million euros in 2019 compared to the baseline of 2000 and 2001. And accumulated over this period of time, we saved 52 million euros just by implementing those energy efficiency measures and other programs on campus. Participation plays a key role in our work because we feel that you can only go so far with engineering measures and optimization processes in the technical field. And that's why we are working with a steering committee on sustainability and climate protection at our university, which is supported by different working groups dealing, for example, with teaching, campus and research, but also with sustainability projects in libraries or biodiversity. And those working groups and steering committee offer consultation for our executive board. Additionally, we do have sustainability teams in our academics departments, as well as audit teams. And audit teams are situated, for example, in our chemistry labs. And here we are talking with the users about optimization measures. And that happens 20 to 40 times per year in the different areas of the university that our colleagues visit to see, okay, where are efficiency problems, where are ways to deal better with the current workload that people are having. All this is also supported by a volunteer initiative called Sustain It. the Initiative for Sustainability and Climate Protection. It is made up of students and staff, which is kind of special, and they are doing events and action formats on campus, but they are also involved in teaching projects. This is an illustration that I wanted to show you because I think it highlights really the impact of participatory approaches on campus. So this is just a chart showing you the heat consumption in our institute building at the Faculty of Law. And we can see like 2003, before we started doing anything, it was this high, then followed an optimization of the heating system. The consumption dropped slightly, but then without further technical measures, user buttons for ventilation were installed, and you can see like the huge impact that had when the users of the building could really decide on how they would like to have the ventilation on their own. It dropped again. Then we installed this bonus system for energy saving, which essentially means that our faculties are rewarded for energy efficiency gains and that they receive the money that they saved. And so that was a drop, as well as the introduction of an environmental team in this building where people working there, so the building users, come together, talk about sustainability projects that they would like to realize in their area of work, supported by our unit, and we can see another significant drop. Again, there followed a couple of technical measures, as well as a second optimization of the heating system. And you can see the huge impact all those measures had from 2003 to 2016. So I mentioned participation. I wanted to show you a couple of pictures. So this is what action days by our initiative Sustain It look like. So they come to the campus, do it-yourself workshops, for example, or they're organizing a clothes swap where people can bring their clothes and swap it for new items that they like better. We do have 2 community gardens on campus where students can engage in urban gardening, but also just use them as a place to relax and to connect with fellow students. Another project is the food sharing, where students pick up unused food from supermarkets, bring them to the campus, store that in a refrigerator, and other students and staff can stop by and pick up whatever they need. So what are our lessons learned of those 20 years of sustainability management? For us, it's really important to have a holistic view on technology, organization, and communication, and really combining those well. It's also significant that you have support from the top management and also direct access to it, so that we, for example, can introduce new measures to the top management and seek for their approval before we reach out to the different departments and areas of the university. This also requires an authentic collaboration of the middle management. So if we are, for example, suggesting new measures in the field of green IT, we are of course working together with the IT department and see what is going to work best. And for all of this, it's very important to have a central coordination, which would, in our case of Freie Universität Berlin, lie with the Unit for Sustainability and Energy Management. In summary, we like to say that we need to connect with the DNA of the university to make it easier for internal stakeholders to join in. So the last part of our webinar will focus on the climate neutrality strategy of Freie Universität, because we have this ambitious goal to become climate neutral by 2025. So, and I want to talk a little bit about how this came about and what strategic options are in this field. But first, what is in our climate emergency declaration? We do have 7 goals. And the first one is that we commit to consider the possible consequences for climate in all decisions and plans, that we are working on achieving climate neutrality by 2025, and that we are comprehensively integrating those topics in the curricula of Freie Universität Berlin, so that every student has access to sustainability content in their studies. And we also want to make sustainability and climate protection even more visible in research, teaching, and transfer, and also systematically address that in our international work with other universities. All this is supposed to be supported by the participatory approaches offered in the framework of the IDS and innovation management. And we will also continue our efforts to promote sustainability and climate protection within the administration and on campus. And of course, we will also make it as transparent as possible by issuing periodic reports. So how did this decision come about? What were the procedure and the key arguments? Back in 2019, the Fridays for Future movement was very big in Europe and also at our university. Our students came together and founded the initiative Fridays for Climate Justice, and they initiated a student general assembly, which was visited by hundreds of students. And they had several meetings also with our unit to discuss opportunities, but also their demands for the university leadership in order to push for more climate protection and sustainability at our institution. They also involved the members of the executive board by issuing a catalogue of demands, and our executive board then sat down and wrote the climate emergency declaration. That process started out in June 2019, and in December 2019, we had a final meeting with final editing and fixing the date for climate neutrality with the executive board. And you may have wondered how we chose the date of 2025 to become carbon neutral. This is to illustrate the urgency of the climate crisis and also a signal for our university community to start immediately. Yeah, I brought some impressions, so you can see our students from the Fridays for Climate Justice group striking in front of the German Parliament, but also see how engaged and our students are in the Student General Assembly, as well as them handing over the catalogue of demands to the president. So what are our strategic options to reach this goal? We are striving to improve our energy efficiency on campus by another 10%, and also work on increasing the use of renewable energy, both by installation of more photovoltaic plants on our rooftops, but also in terms of procurement. We have heard that we are already purchasing CO2-free electricity, and we are working on extending that also to the heat consumption. Another big part at our university or at all international universities is sustainable mobility. This concerns especially the business trips that we undertake, and we are working on a business travel policy that is in line with the requirements of climate protection. But we are also looking at campus infrastructure and how our students and staff can have a more sustainable commute to our institution. A living lab project that we are having is on internal offset projects, and it's focusing on plant coal production with the green waste that we are producing on our campus, and would help us to install a negative emissions technology. And of course, I mentioned the ideas and innovation management. Of course, this whole process, it does not come without challenges. Most importantly for us at the Unit for Sustainability and Energy Management is maintaining credibility, to be transparent in what we are doing and what we can achieve in terms of climate neutrality. We also work on involving more internal and external stakeholders, as we find it is crucial to have many people working in different areas of the university to achieve those overall goals of the climate emergency declaration. And then we also need to consider costs and the need for external funding to realize some of those projects. While doing this, we are also committed to maintaining our holistic view on research, teaching, and transfer on campus. Here you find the references that I've used in this presentation for your further reading. And I've also added a couple of more suggestions for that if you want to dive deeper into the issues that we are dealing with. For example, at Freie Universität Berlin, you find a little bit more literature here. For now, I would like to thank you for your attention. If you have any questions or would like to reach out, you find my contact details here and on the website of the Unit for Sustainability and Energy Management at Freie Universität Berlin. And of course, I would love to hear from you. Thank you.